So in this one, we're going to pull the Try Django 1.8 project from GitHub to our local computer using Git. Git is a revision control system. It allows us to see all of the changes that we make in our code. And GitHub is a place where you can store all that stuff. You might know that already, but it's something that is useful to do. If you don't have Git installed or you're not sure you have it installed, download the Heroku toolbelt. That's toolbelt.heroku.com. Heroku itself is a great service for hosting and building applications on, especially when you get into a higher level. But the toolbelt itself already has all this stuff installed and ready to go for us. So download and install that so we can actually use Git. And then you want to go to our github.com/codingforentrepreneurs/try Django 1.8 or simply http://join-cfe/github. That will take you to the same place. And then you want to go to actually check out our repo for Try Django 1.8. And this one is what we're going to be working off of. So let's go ahead and copy the URL, the HTTPS clone URL on the side here. If you're having trouble with Git or some problems are happening, you can also just download the zip. It's going to download the same stuff, so you can do that as well. It's completely up to you. So I'm going to go off of Git though, and I'm going to copy this link that we have here. And I want to create my project, so I'm going to put it into the desktop. And I'm going to make a file, so make dir, and I'll call it MatchMaker. Or excuse me, make a directory, not a file. And we're going to change it into MatchMaker. And here we'll do git clone, and we're going to grab the URL that we just copied. And then I'm going to put a dot at the end, so it's going to clone into the folder that we have. So I'll press enter. And the reason I did that is so it doesn't create a brand new folder. It's going to instead have all of these files and folders within the one that I have right here. So if I list everything out, there's that Git. So it's everything that's in that Git. Now it's on our local computer, which is really good. That's something that we need. So since we have this, we also want to do virtual env, and I'll just do period. So this is creating that virtual environment for us within this same folder. So if I do source bin/activate, and then of course if you're on Windows, it's scripts/bin/activate. All right, so now that we have our virtual environment activated, we can list everything out and change into source, and then do python manage.py-r requirements.txt. Pip install-r requirements.txt. And that the reason we saw this is first of all we see that we have this no module named Django core. That just means Django is not installed. So then I did pip install requirements. So this was the incorrect command, but it did show us the error that would happen if you tried to run the server right there, is you need to have Django installed. All right, so now it installed everything. So we see a few issues that are coming through, namely one of them being the URL lib3, some secure issues. So if we do pip install requests and security, that should get rid of that issue. And then it's also going to say stuff with pip being out of date, so we can actually update pip. Now you may or may not see this depending on how your system's currently set up. So I'm going to let some of these things install, and we'll come right back. All right, so pip install request security has been successfully installed. And the last thing I want to do is upgrade pip. So I'll do pip install upgrade pip. It gives you these warnings to actually do the things that you probably should do. So now that I have this, if I do pip freeze or pip install something, I'm not going to have any issues. But one of the things that I do notice is Django is just version 1.8. But if we actually take a look at the Django project, so let's go to djangoproject.com, and we're going to see a different version most likely. And we do see a latest version is 1.8.3. So this is going to be the version that we'll actually work with, 1.8.3. Definitely stick with 1.8. If there's 1.8.9 or something like that, if that's out, that's okay. You can use that. But in this one, we're going to do 1.8.3 because there's some security things that were released with it. So that's a good thing. We want to make sure that we are getting the latest version when it comes to going live. But when it comes to learning, it actually doesn't matter which version that you're working with that much. It matters a little bit, but not that much. So the changes are very minor as far as what's happening, and we try to make sure that that's very clear as we go forward, especially in this one, because the matching algorithm that we're going to build, which you'll see what that is not really going to be reliant on the Django version at all. But some of the other things might be, and some methods and functionality might actually change from 1.8 8 to 1.9 to 2.0 and so on. But those changes won't happen at least for a little while. All right, so that being said, let's go ahead and install 1.8.3. So I'm going to go back into my virtual environment, and I see that I have pip freeze here and I have Django 1.8. If I just paste this in here, it's going to install it. So it's going to install the newest version, and since we are installing this newest version, we want to upgrade or change our requirements text. So if I list everything out, I've got requirements.txt, so I want to just do pip freeze and then requirements.txt. Of course, if I opened that file, I could actually see those changes. So I don't think there's anything else that I really need to change, but if I did want to check, I could do pip install Django Crispy Forms, and we'll do -- upgrade. So that's another way to upgrade these libraries if need be. In this case, it's already up to date. It hasn't changed. And then the registration redux might be the other one that I want to actually update. And again, upgrade. And in this case, it actually did update something. So again, we want to do pip freeze into requirements.txt. Great, so that's working. So now that we've got this, let's actually run the server and just check that our try Django 1.8 is working. So it says we have unapplied migrations. Let's not worry about that yet. That is a warning that we will take care of later. I'm going to go ahead and copy this link and paste it in. And there we go. So we have try Django 1.8 working. So this is what we'll be building off of. That's perfect. So if you have any questions on this, let us know. Otherwise, you might need to watch the video again just to see exactly all the things that we did. But realistically, it's fairly straightforward. You download the information from the GitHub, and then you create a virtual environment for that so we can install the necessary project requirements doing pip install -r requirements.txt. That's pretty much it. And now we have this project, and we can actually work with it. There is one more thing that you might want to do is python manage.py, create super user, and this will allow you to create your own user. So if, let's say I just did ABC or ABC123, and then I can leave a blank email address, put a password. I'm testing, so I'm just putting 123 as my password, and there we go. So now I have this super user that is created so I can do things in the Django admin with that new super user. So if I actually run the server again, and go into the admin and do ABC123 and password of 123, I can actually log in and see that stuff. Of course, another way to do that would be to just delete the database and run the migrations and all that stuff too. So let's go ahead and actually show you that, just so you know. You might not do it very often, so I'm going to close the server with Control-C. And then in here, I'll just go ahead and remove db.sqlite3. And I'll remove db2.sqlite3. And now I'll just do python manage.py and make migrations. So no changes made. So python manage.py, we'll just do migrate. So this actually makes all the migrations for us and applies everything to the tables and creates the database. So if I list it out, I see db.sqlite3. Now python manage.py syncdb is no longer used, or it's not going to be used in 1.9, so you shouldn't use it anymore. This is if you're coming from a previous version of Django that used syncdb, if you've ever heard of that. But notice it did do something in this case. It created a super user for us. So that's when we want to do python manage.py, create super user. And we'll do that again. In this case, I'm going to use jmitchell3 and password of 123. So now we have a completely clean database. And if I run the server again, that means that there's literally nothing in this database whatsoever. So if I refresh the Django admin and try to do ABC123 again, it's not going to let me in because that staff account doesn't exist because I deleted the database. But the new one of jmitchell3, that one actually works, so we can actually log in and see all that. Cool. So we've got this project up, and we've made some changes to the database and make sure that it's all running and working. Now, in the next one, we will actually make some more changes to change it away from being try Django 1.8 and instead being the MatchMaker project itself. If you have any questions on this, let us know. Otherwise, let's keep going.